Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for Z Nation Season 3. And this video is going to be my review for the latest episode of Z Nation, which was called The Siege of Murphytown. If you are not caught up with Z Nation and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then exit the video now, because otherwise you are going to get majorly spoiled. Okay. So I'm just going to flat out say it. This episode was incredible. Absolutely amazing. Like, I have been waiting the whole season for this episode. I knew there was going to be some great conflict coming between Warren's group and Murphy and his followers. It finally happened, and really it provided everything that I really hoped that it would. To see how Murphy was feeling, to see what Warren was feeling, their viewpoints, them, challenging each other, a showdown. I really liked it, and it wasn't so much that it was a showdown to the death or anything like that, but it was really a showdown of their ideals, a showdown of how they really felt about the world, what they have done to get to where they are at, and really who was right and who was wrong. And I mean, I think that the way that they were able to set up this whole entire season, and really a lot of the events from the past two seasons and this season, really showed, that neither Warren nor Murphy are perfect. They have their faults, and I really liked the way that they went about this episode, because the episode really deals with Warren's group finally making their push onto Murphytown. They've been able to recruit the Red Hand Gang for their mission, and what ends up happening is 10,000 is also on his little mission to go get Warren. He ends up getting captured by Warren at the beginning of the episode, and what we find out is that 10K was sent there to either bring Warren to Murphy or to kill her. It was up to basically Warren to decide how that showdown would go, but Warren was able to capture 10,000. And what she did to him was definitely very shocking. In order to get information out of him, she beat him, threw him around, and really talked to him very rudely, if you ask me. I mean, really not somebody that was a friend of hers. Her and 10,000 have been through a lot together, but really the way that she was speaking to him in that episode really showed that she viewed him as the enemy, that because he was part of Murphy's goal, that he was an enemy to her. And I mean, she taunted him, was messing with his mind, and of course, 10,000's been drugged up on so many different vaccines that he's totally out of his mind, is not really in the state that, he should be in. And eventually, Murphy's able to capture the members of the Red Hand Gang, and he goes and he meets Warren. And Warren and Murphy have a discussion, and you see that Warren really criticizes Murphy for his idea of creating blends. She's not a fan of the blends. She thinks of him as somebody who's just a mind-controlling, selfish person who is destroying humanity rather than making it better or helping humanity at all. And you have Murphy, on the other hand, who's kind of looking at Warren and saying, look, what are you really doing that's even beneficial? I mean, Warren, look at all the things that you've done to get to where you are at. You have killed a lot of people along the way. You have, really been following a mission that is really foolish. The idea of saving humanity is something that's so ridiculous it's not even funny. I don't trust humans. Look at the way they've screwed me over the last two seasons of the show. And you see these ideals really entering into a showdown. But what was very interesting was seeing the way that Murphy and Warren still nonetheless had a little bit of mutual respect for each other and nonetheless needed each other. Because let's face it, I mean, what ends up happening is in that little talk, I mean, what Murphy basically tells Warren is, look, your new life is set up for you right back at Murphytown. You're welcome to come back with me, get the vaccine, and we can work together and create this world. He doesn't want to kill Warren. He doesn't want to eliminate her because he does have respect for her. Murphy does respect the drive that Warren has to fight, to survive. And he likes that, appreciates that, and wants that to be part of his world. And that's really a lot of his motivation behind why he wants Warren. And Warren is just after Murphy's blood. So she can't kill him, because if she does that, then the vaccine may as well be useless. So she needs him basically saying, look, you're going to give me a vial of your blood, you're going to give it to Dr. Sun, and she's going to make a vaccine. So in the end, Murphy ends up taking 10,000 back with him, back to his compound. They give out the weapons to the different individuals of the community, a lot of the blends, and they prepare for a battle. And what you see is that the battle was basically set up as a diversion. I mean, different people were doing different things, but what ends up happening is, in the end, the Red Hand Gang ends up getting killed, all of them. Murphy, through his mind control powers, is able to make his followers really not fear anything. And they're able to fight more effectively than the Red Hand Gang. And they end up getting decimated in the end. All of the Red Hand Gang, if I'm not mistaken, are dead. And what ends up happening on the other end, though, which, again, there were a lot of shocking developments in this episode. Like, literally, you're dropping bombshell after bombshell after bombshell, reveals throughout the whole episode. And there was a part in the plot where 10,000, because of the fact that the Red Hand Gang shut down the water turbines, the generators, 10K was escorting the guy who could fix them out there, was attacked by several of the Red Hand Gang. That guy gets killed, and then 10K ends up taking out those Red Hand. But because of the fact that he got a shot of the original vaccine from Dr. Sun, Warren, earlier in the episode, he was susceptible to being attacked by zombies again. He gets surrounded by zombies. He's trying to fight them off. All of a sudden, who the heck comes out of nowhere? Red and 5K. Originally, we're thinking, hey, they died back in the TV movie. We saw 5K's body laying on the ground, and we saw Red taking on that herd of zombies, and the look of horror on 10K's face would make you think, well, she got eaten. Nope, and it's for real. They are alive, and they end up saving 10K. And it was very interesting to see that, because 10K thinks that they're fake. He thinks that he's having another vision, because if you remember back in that earlier episode, when he was running away from the compound, 10K was having visions of the both of them. It's a place that he went to find peace. But no, they're real. And he just can't believe it, and he doesn't believe it until near the end of the episode, when what ends up happening is Dr. Sun gets into the lab, and when she gets into the lab, she needs to find, the different things that Murphy's been working on, and Red is able to convince 10,000 that she is real by kissing him. So 10,000 gets his first makeout session post-zombie apocalypse, maybe in his whole life, God only knows. And, of course, that actually, for some reason, somehow snaps him out of whatever funk he was in. If you remember in the one previous episode, Murphy had pretty much brainwashed the kid to being almost exactly like him, and he spent most of the episode exactly in that state. Really not showing any signs that he was supporting Warren, anything like that. He got snapped out of it right like that. And, in a sense, he may be back to his old self. I hope, because I have missed that person very dearly on the show. But he's back, and they're able to get some of the samples, and they might start working on a cure at some point. We'll see what happens, but a lot more happened that may put some of that on hold. Well, during the fight, while the Red Hand Gang is getting slaughtered, Warren and Dr. Sun make their way inside. Warren ends up killing one of Murphy's followers, and it actually turned out to be the wife of the little girl. Well, excuse me, let me backtrack here. If you remember back in that third episode, Murphy's Miracle, when Murphy bit the little girl, and there was that father and mother, it was the mother. I believe her name was Hope. And Will, the guy with the beard, who's been one of the strongest supporters of Murphy from the very beginning, that was his wife. So she ends up killing her and taking her brain so that way she can kind of show Murphy a little bit of his bad side as well. Because there's another showdown really between Murphy and Warren in what is to be Lucy's room. And it's a lot of the same discussion again of really, both of their faults, things that really they've done wrong ever since the start, the things that might be their fault, convincing each other of why their mission is the better one. And I think that it was really interesting to see throughout the whole episode the way that the two of them really did square off. Because when you saw Warren, I mean, the way that she acted in this episode, taking over the leadership of the Red Hand Gang, I think really changed her. It affected her. It put her into a certain persona where she really didn't care what happened to people. And that's not really like Warren. I mean, you see Warren as somebody who, while she is mission-oriented, she would never really sacrifice anybody's life in order to get her job done. She never really did that in Operation Bite Mark, except for that one little incident with the Mennonites. But, everybody has their exceptions. But for the most part, you look at Warren as a hero. And in this episode, you really saw Warren as somebody who really wasn't any better than Murphy, who had really become somebody so different, so disregarding of whether somebody really lived or died or who she had to kill or what she had to do to get her mission done, that she had changed, that she'd almost really become like Murphy himself, who really didn't care what he did to anybody long as he lived another day, as long as he got a meal, or as long as he now is able to further his mission. Well, the fight ends up stopping because a plane lands in the forest. And early in the episode and throughout the episode, you saw that Citizen Z and the uncle were in a plane flying to Spokane. And as we saw in the last episode, they were having trouble reaching Operation Bite Mark over the radio. So Citizen Z and the uncle end up going out in the plane in order to get in contact with Operation Bite Mark to deliver news about Lucy. So they get there, and this is the first time that Citizen Z has ever met any of the individuals of Operation Bite Mark face to face. I mean, Citizen Z's been sitting up at Northern Lights for the last 2 seasons plus by himself, or just with Kaya and her family now. And it was very nice to see that interaction, to see, like, really they looked at him as somebody who was just like one of them, somebody who was just important. And Citizen Z ends up delivering the news that Lucy has been taken by the man, and that changes everybody's priorities. Everybody's priorities goes from fighting each other and worrying about ideals and things like that to rescuing Lucy. Another big surprise that we found out in this episode was Citizen Z was able to get a hold of Kaya. Kaya had earlier tried to send a message to Warren and Dr. Sun, but she was unable to get that message the whole way through because the power got cut. She tells Citizen Z that she's pregnant, that she's going to have his child. So turns out that somewhere in between all of this, storyline, the two of them were getting physical, had physical relations, and now they're going to have a child. And he's just very ecstatic. And I was just like, what? Like, this is really happening? Like, this is crazy that he actually has been able to do this in a world like this. But it really does make me worry about what's going to happen to him. Now that he's out in the open, now that he doesn't have the safety of Northern Lights, is the show going to cut us, a very bad break and kill him off? Maybe. I would not be surprised of that. But what ends up happening is Warren and Murphy make a new deal. If they rescue Lucy, Murphy will give over his blood. So at this point, that's their priority. Murphy ends up leaving the Murphytown in charge with Will. Now, Will, right before he leaves, he tells Murphy, I don't see Hope around. I don't know where she's at. And Murphy kind of just brushes him off and says, no, it's fine. She's all right. And it makes me wonder if maybe not in this season, but maybe in season 4, you have to wonder if some of the events from Murphytown will carry over into season 4, and we might see some of the things the fallout from a lot of the things that happened. But I will be interested to see how many of those elements do connect. Next week looks like an amazing episode, and I'm very, very happy that Z Nation did get renewed for season 4. They did confirm that just a few days ago. I was very happy to hear that. I think that season 3, overall, I have enjoyed it when I watched it all back to back. It's one of those seasons where I feel like they kind of, broke it up a little too much, slowed it down a little too much than what I liked. And I think the other thing, too, was separating the group. I really didn't like that as much. I think that when the cast is all working together, when they are together as an ensemble, that's when they work the best. So I'm really hoping that season 4 brings them all back together again, and it makes a very strong season. I've been a fan of this season. I don't think it's as good as the second one, but I have to say I'm happy that they finally got to this point in the story. I think everything's starting to line up, makes sense, and I'm really glad that Z Nation will get a 4th season to continue telling this amazing story, because I think they've done great things with this show, and I'm so excited for what's coming next. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you all very much for watching.